today is St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Who are some of your favorite like Irish artists?
U2 is Irish, right?
Yes.
I love U2. Is Sinead O'Connor Irish?
Yes, she is.
Also love Sinead O'Connor. Let's stick with those two. Those are two people I love.
Bono's son also has a band. They're from Ireland too. So they're called
Nice.
Inhaler. They're performing also tonight on James Corden. And I want to flash back to 2019 because that's when
Yes.
I first saw you. And I had tickets to see James Corden that day. So
Uh-huh.
my mom and I, we got ready. We went. Now their taping is supposed to last like 2 hours. Well, it ran
Mhm.
a little late, and we already had plans to come see your show. And so after we left, we're like booking it. We're like, because we like to be the early birds in concerts because first
Yeah.
off, we're both really short. So we want to have a good viewing.
Mhm.
And we're not from LA. We're from more of the offskirts of the Bay Area, like Central Valley.
Mm.
So we drove
Uh-huh.
there and we're like, okay, we don't know like where's this theater? Like how's the parking situation gonna be? And it was like
Ugh.
20 minutes away. So we finally get there, and then all of a sudden there's a sign that says, just go park at the church. I was like, oh, that was really easy. Okay.
Perfect.
Right? And also, you wore this beautiful turquoise jumpsuit, and I'm actually wearing velvet today because of
Oh,
that.
yes. Well, thank you. Yeah, I love those jumpsuits. I had them made. They're all handmade.
By
My
Casey,
friend, yes, exactly. Well done. Yes,
right?
Casey made. I have them in like 8 colors. I need more. They're just essentially I had them made because I wanted something for a tour that was like super cute, but I could just throw in a suitcase because I'm very hard on clothing. So they're perfect.
Oh, you have to give me Casey's information because like I
Yes.
love velvet, so I would love to support her designs.
Amazing. Absolutely.
So Brittany O'Connell was the one that introduced me to you. So shout out to Brittany.
Love her.
um, but she like sent me like your album and I listened to it, and what drew me to your music, it was so different. It wasn't like your traditional pop music, and you describe
Mm.
your music as Jewish contemporary pop, which is something
Mm.
super unique. Do you feel like you're breaking like pop boundaries, or are you like reinventing this new subgenre?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't, maybe. I feel like I'm just making the music I'm making, right? But I will say that that album, I Am Here, it didn't fit into any genre. And I hope that there are albums after that that can live with I Am Here. You know, I hope that it kicks the door open and that other Jewish women and men and people who don't identify with binary, non-binary people, I hope that they hear it and make their own version of it. But I do think that it fits into a real beautiful revolution of what's happening in pop music, where people are bringing in their identity. So you have, singers like Kali or Rosalia, specifically with Latinx communities that are doing it so well, where culture is your culture becomes your pop music. So I borrowed from them in that space and just brought my Jewish culture to the music.
And here it is.
It's my face.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think listening to this, it might inspire other cultures, other ethnicities to like break out on their own and say, hey, like I love pop music. I want to make pop music, but let me add like my own heritage and my own unique flavor to this.
Yes, that's the hope. That's the dream.
So you have your new album out. When did the world start ending? And
Yes.
it's very different from the last record conceptually, complete different vibe. What does it mean to you?
Yeah. So I've put out two EPs in between where I've been sort of exploring. Um, and you're right. It's not just completely, I mean, it's a complete 180. I Am Here, we did with not one instrument is on that album. I did that whole album on a computer with my co-producer Josiah Kozier. And I played in everything and we picked in the sounds and that's how we made that album. When I toured it thank you for coming to the show. I felt something missing in the touring. And often that's what happens. You don't know until you do it, you know? And so I toured it and felt like this kind of missing. And I missed just playing piano. I missed keys like under my fingers. There's only so much, unless you're at the level of like James Blake or, Hudmo or that level of artistry. I'm not at that level where I can like really create as spontaneously as I do when I'm on some variety of organic instrument, even if it's a synthesizer, right? So this album is all organic. I mean, it's just a Rhodes and a piano, but it's also a live album. We did it right just as New York had opened up in the summer of 2020. And we went up our record label, Rainbow Blonde Records. We brought 2 shows up, myself and Jose James, up to Levon Helm Studios, which is this legendary venue of, the former home of legendary drummer Levon Helm. And he, of course, is a dreamboat. So it's like his home became this massive venue and studio for people in Woodstock. And so we went up there and we filmed 2 shows that were watched live around the world. People streamed in, and then we also recorded that as an album. So it's, like you said, definitely a departure from I Am Here, my first album. But right now, like literally right next door, I'm making the next one. And that one will be sort of in between the two, because I don't want to just play piano and I don't want to just play laptop. I'd like to do somewhere in between.
Yeah, that's what I noticed when I was listening to your live album. It was very more piano based versus I'm
Yeah.
here. Like you heard the claps, and I was like, I think I need to
Mm-hmm.
get a clap lesson from you, Talia.
Happily, any day.
They'll make it a tutorial as well as you doing your baking.
I had always like obsessively watched cake making on Instagram. And, like those beautiful videos where they're like decorating and it's like in time lapse. And I was just like, well, I can't bake, but I love to watch people bake. And then when quarantine hit, I thought to myself, maybe let me just try. I'll make a cake. And it turns out I'm very good at baking. So I've been just baking up a storm. I don't have much else to do. I've like gained a lot of weight and I bake bread and cakes and buns and all sorts of things. It brings me a lot of joy.
But you've been bicycling all over Amsterdam.
It's true. Thank God. Thank God. Because and it's funny, like with the biking, I hadn't worked out in a year. So it was the first bike ride. I was like, I just forgot how to use my legs. But now, yes, the biking allows me to bake more. It's perfect because I'm just like, I'm biking everywhere. I'll be fine.
So, what has been your favorite thing to bake? And have you baked other like Jewish desserts?
Yes. So I bake challah every week, which is the bread that we eat on Shabbat. I've gotten really solid at challah. I wrote out my recipe for my mom, and like a couple of people have asked for it on Instagram, which is how I realized that apparently my recipes are very funny. I just write them out the way I think about them, and everyone really liked them. I bake challah. I made Homentashen for Purim just now. We had a holiday. And obviously Passover is coming up. So that'll be we don't eat bread on Passover. So I'll do a bunch of flourless chocolate desserts, but again, not that much because it's just me and Jose here. And my favorite thing to bake, oh my God, I have so many things I love to bake. My favorite thing lately has been these, they're so good. They're these saffron cardamom buns with cardamom vanilla bean syrup. They're so fussy. It's Ottolenghi. If you know Ottolenghi, he makes the most delicious things, but they're very specific. So it's taken a few times to get them exactly right, but they're delicious. And then my real favorite thing I would say is just like I worked all year on what I think is the perfect chocolate cake. And so, I mean, it's so good. It's so good that now I can't order cake, which I'm really bummed about. Like I ordered cake in Amsterdam because I wanted cake and I didn't want to make one. And I was like, this isn't as good. I'm so bummed. It's a bummer.
I have a weakness for chocolate, and I love chocolate cake over, like, any other flavored cake.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yes, but if you can make a really good red velvet for me, I would devour it.
Ooh, I've never made red velvet. I'll do it. I'll do it. Just so I can tell you I did it.
Hey, and Amsterdam likes to put, like, a secret ingredient from
Exactly. Yeah. Just
yeah.
like a special red velvet. Got
Exactly.
it.
Um, so I wanna go back to your song that's also on your album, "When Did the
Mm,
World Start Ending?" And
mhm.
there's a lyric in that song, and you sing beautifully, I can't sing it, but,
Thank you.
"Love, if the world is ending, I'll build a new one with you." What
Mhm.
does a Taali world look like to you?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. I wrote that song technically for my creative partner and husband, Jose. Um, because the we were building a new world. We even to just play the show that you're listening to the recording of was a new world. It wasn't something that anyone was thinking about. So a new Tolly world to me looks like a space where art is made freely, where artists are placed at a premium, where community is valued and celebrated and lifted up. Um, and that's what I was trying to say in that song. In that song, I really was grappling. I wrote that song the day before the show, and I was really grappling with the idea of like, when did it start? I just couldn't, time got so warped in New York, and it really got so dark in New York in those months that I couldn't place it really. I knew, okay, we flew back from Japan. I had these shows in Japan. We flew back from Japan. And then when did the world start ending? I was trying to like, did I feel a shift? You know? And that's what I came to the line, thank you, that you zeroed in on of, fine, like let it in, we'll make a new one. It's also based on the show that we played, right? Part of why we played Leave on Helm was that we were getting these offers from venues um, that were probably their best shot, right? But they were really bad deals for artists. For example, where we wouldn't make any money and we'd get a split of the ticket sales, and then they would own the concert of us forever, you know? And that's like a very bad deal. So a new Tolly world looks like a space where we do what we did, which is to say, okay, well, then we're just going to put on the show ourselves. Um, and I like to think with Rainbow Blonde, our label, that we're building that, one brick at a time.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful, empowering song, and I think everyone could relate to it in a whole different level of their own. And I'm gonna get a
Mm.
little dark here,
Ooh,
but
fun.
but if the world were to end tomorrow, what would be your
Okay.
last album you wanna listen to?
Last album, like, what do you want to go out on? That's a really good question. So if the world were ending, what would I want to be like the thing I ended with? Because it's hard, right? You're like, do you pick your favorite or do you pick something just joyous? I mean, I'm just going to do Talking Book, Stevie Wonder Talking Book. You can't, or, sorry, maybe, you know what? Talking Book's a little too subdued. We want to go out on a high note. Let's pick Hotter Than July. I would pick Stevie Wonder Hotter Than July.
Now relocating to Amsterdam, that's a whole new world for you because you
For sure.
previously lived in New York and LA. And I know that you're actually teaching songwriting at a conservatory.
Yes.
How did you like find yourself? Like, why did you want to move to Amsterdam and teach there? Was there something about Amsterdam that they have like a great music scene?
I mean, Amsterdam is a wonderful place. It's always been very friendly to me and to Jose, my creative partner. And so we were just kind of looking around and we felt like it was time for a shift. Um, and what we wanted, and at the moment when, we knew we wanted to come live here, which meant we needed a visa because Americans have still are not allowed here in Europe. And what we wanted, though, was a space that would understand us because we're not necessarily teachers, you know what I mean? And I don't know that I'll ever be like a full on university teacher. So we wanted to find a space that would understand and help and be open to building with us a program that would give the future of music accurate information. That is something I'm passionate about, students or otherwise. And it turns out the Conservatorium van Amsterdam is the second biggest conservatory in the world. It's Berkeley and then them. And so we met the head of that conservatory. His name is Edo Regini. He's just this legend of a man. And we just had a preliminary conversation to see if maybe that would be a space that would work. And immediately we knew. We just knew right away because he was down for all of the music business things and to bring us as artists in residence so that we could dictate what we were doing as opposed to, you know, making like I didn't want to teach a songwriting class, for example. I think that's a, I think that's a hard, I've rarely seen that work, if ever. What I wanted to do was do seminars, 5-part spaces that actually equip, and we're doing, it starts next week, that I'm working with small groups of singers and we're starting from the first moment. And on the fifth one, they'll have a song. We will record it, like that's what I mean. I want things to be real life as opposed to I don't think that songwriting is something you can teach. I just don't think it is. At least in my experience, the only songwriting teachers I had were horrible and very mean and put me off songwriting for a while, And so I really am trying to just help these singers and some instrumentalists in my classes understand that songwriting is just something you do with experience. You get better at it, and that's how it goes.
Spoke to another duo band. They're from LA called Dream System 8, and we were talking
Mm.
about songwriting, and Erica, she's one of the members there. She was like, "I just write based on feeling. It's whatever comes out that's organic and feels natural."
Yeah. And how do you explain that to a student? You see what I mean? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, how do you explain to them? And I mean, I'm answering my own question, but that's what I mean. Like, teaching songwriting is a scam. You have to like just be with the students and teach. Like, the best thing you can do for songwriting is learn how to be in touch with your own body, right? Like she said, you know, learn what feelings are, learn how to like process, learn how to get out of your own way. Those are all things. And most of those things come with time. So, what I'm trying to teach them is how to get out of their own way and just start recording so that they can keep creating, like to demystify the process of going from song to MP3 file, or wave file. And so that they can start doing that a lot. And then their songs will get better.
Well, I love what you're, planning to do with the students, and it sounds like you're becoming a mentor. And I did read how you want to like better the community with your music, and
Mm.
that's exactly what you're doing there in Amsterdam. How is it like collaborating with your own husband? Because I know before the pandemic, you would be doing separate tours, and I know you
Yes.
worked with him on his previous albums, but like, how is it now spending the time together and still collaborating in a whole different way?
Yes. It is challenging. The relationship that we signed on for is the opposite of what life looks like right now. When we were like, yes, I do, that was based on two people who travel over 200 days a year. And that works for both of us. Like, that's the life that we love. So, first of all, we're both a little bit unhappy. Like, we're both like struggling with being home this much. Um, and then, like you said, we just have never seen this much of each other. Um, so there's that to adjust to, just because I generally create better when I'm by myself, um but I will say that I do feel like I've gotten to know Jose so much better, like so much better, and it's really deep, you know and there are things that I just thought were impossible that are becoming more possible. Like, for example, I write for Jose, and I've written for Jose for 8 or 9 years, like well before we were together, you know? And at this point, I've written on his last four albums. Yeah, like just I write his songs. But Jose doesn't write for me. That's always been the thing. He's just like, I don't like to write. You write, I sing. If I write, it's by myself. But I'm a very collaborative person and I don't like to create by myself. So he was just like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. And I was like, well, you need to, because you're the only person here and I can't go to a studio and see anyone else. And so, to answer your question, we've been learning how to work together. What can Jose offer? And it's been awesome. And it's been an adjustment. Like, he's not down to necessarily help on the things I'm asking. However, he has amazing other ideas, like he's really helpful in production land. And he's like, that sound is terrible, switch it out. And so there's been an adjustment period, but that's really where we're meeting. And also we're like electric together when it comes to business planning, just like Rainbow Blonde Records and all of those kinds of things. And so we've really been sowing the seeds for, I think, what is going to be a really incredible and fruitful next few years as far as the label's future, which I'm excited about.
So that's really like ironic because one of my favorite tracks off I Am Here is Star, which is your collaboration with Jose.
Yeah. 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 We wrote that one. We needed one last song for the album. I finished I Am Here in 3 weeks. We were like, we need it by this time, otherwise we can't put it out. And I did it all. And Star, we needed one more song. And so we just like holed up in LA in Atwater Village and our third co-founder of the label's house. And we wrote that song. And I'm glad a lot of people love that song and I love that song. Um, but again, a good example because we each sing our own verse, like hip hop style, like, and when, that's generally how it's been. And I love that, Jose, I mean, I don't know. Jose's my favorite singer on earth, like besides Stevie Wonder, Jose is it, you know, I love him. I was a Jose James fan long before and there was anything between us.
And what's so magical about I Am Here is like you said, like that song is very hip hop, and then you have your,
Mm.
you know, your Jewish contemporary pop, and then Right Size, another favorite track of mine, is very R&B. You just fuse so many genres into this one whole album.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's I will give credit on those sort of like beats. Is That's Josiah Cozier, was my co-producer on I Am Here, and he is a genius. I mean, he's a genius. He's like, his beats are nuts and his sounds are so full, and he's really a treasure on earth.
What can you say about your coming new album? I know it's in the process of, you know, working on it, and I know
Yes.
a lot of musicians like to keep secrets.
Nah, this album is big. It's gonna have an orchestra on it. Yeah. Um, it's a mix of this new album, like, this kind of like more acoustic. So I will say it'll be more acoustic. Like there's going to be live bass and there's going to be live drums, and neon synths and full strings. It's, I would say it's sort of like more measured, um, emotionally. I Am Here was very forward, if that makes sense. Like I Am Here was like, right where I was, every song is that level of honesty, where this is lyrically a little more obscured. But I will say also that it's it's going to be a little less conventional. I Am Here, like not one of the songs is longer than 4 minutes. It's like a very pop format. Um and I think here we're going to blur the lines a little more. Um because again, those were things that I missed live. Like when I went to go play those songs live, I wanted them to last longer, you know? And so that's sort of how it's coming. And also I'm producing the whole thing myself. So a lot of synths and a lot of strings.
All right. Two of my favorite things. I'm already loving this future project. Do you have an idea when it might be out?
Yeah, probably January of next year.
Oh, we have to
I'm
wait.
sorry.
It's okay. You can't rush art, as someone told me.
Yeah.
The reason why I wanted to do this interview because, as you know, the month of March is like Women's History Month. So, who are
Mm.
some women that inspire you?
Yeah, so many. My mom, I have a heroic mom. She's just a powerhouse who has been through some of the worst things of anyone I've ever met and thrives and continues on really beautifully, and then there are my like real pinnacle ladies. I'm obsessed with Iris Apfel. She's the love of my life. My car is named Iris. My coasters have Iris's face on them. um, I love how colorfully and fearlessly she lives her life. Joni Mitchell, the almighty Joni Mitchell and Carole King, like just mothers of songwriting and honest female experience, tellers of that story. And then there are women on whom I grew up, Jewish, badass women, Clara Lemlich, who was a labor organizer on the Lower East Side, women who helped to get laws in place that no one really knows they did, like the weekend. I don't know if you know this, like that didn't exist. The concept of the weekend was made by labor activists on the Lower East Side, Clara Lemlich, Emma Goldman, badass. And then Bella Abzug, like those kinds of women. And then, of course, Beyonce, the greatest of all the women. Just as far as we go.
Well, thank you so much for educating me on that.
Of course, happy to help.
But I also want to congratulate you on being a Grammy nominee, which you will always forever, you know, that's tied down to you now, Taali. You're a Grammy nominee.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, just for the rest of my life. Thank you. Yeah, it was a complete shock. I did not even know I was listed. So when I heard, it was a very exciting day for me. Thank you. I'm just really proud of that. Just authentically, actually, really grateful for that.
Yeah, not many artists can say that. And I have an autograph of a Grammy nominee.
You do.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely have some high hopes. This is just the beginning. It's not the end of Taali. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and when lockdowns are lifted, when it's everything is safe to open, I would love to see your concert again, whether it's in LA, New York, if I got to go
For
to
sure.
Amsterdam.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of Europe shows, but yeah, we're as soon as the world opens again, that'll be the first thing I do is play shows because I miss them so much.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much, Talia, again for speaking with me. And you just have this ray of light in you. And I like how you said that when you put on concerts, it's like you're playing in your personal living room. That's how I felt when I saw your LA
Mm,
show.
thank you. That's again the dream. Like that's exactly it. And I don't know. I really like my living room. You're actually in my living room right now,
Yeah.
but I want everyone to feel like they're at home with me. That's the goal. So I'm glad that I was able to make you feel that way.